Hello, Roger Bisbee here from the Skill Builder channel. We've got a question that's coming from Elizabeth. She's sent us a little video here.
So in the kitchen, when we first bought the house, this wall was a problem and we were told that it needed damp proofing. And some guys came in and they took everything off and they did whatever they needed to do. And since then, this is what is happening to it. We have that. If I go close, you can probably see what it's like. And then on this wall, which is the same party wall as the living room, which is to the left, this has now started, and that feels very damp, as does here. That feels very damp as well. Now, I should say that we discovered that the chimney above this section of the property had no chimney pot for we don't know how long, to be honest. We just had that replaced maybe a month ago, and the chimney itself redone. The guy said we should probably see results within 4 weeks, and it has been 4 weeks, but the wet patches do not seem to be drying out.
First thing, this door going through to the back there, the washing machine in there, do we know what's in there? Is that part of the original building? Is that a single story, what would have been a scullery or something like that? Or is that an extension? Have they extended that? And what's above it, where that clock is, if you imagine the wall going up to the next floor, is that then on the outside of the building? In other words, is this a single story behind here? Or is it a double story? If we'd seen some outside pictures, we might know whether this was a cavity wall or not, because if it is a cavity wall, it's likely that water's getting in and dripping down the cavity wall and ending up there. But if it isn't, if it's an old building and it's a solid wall, then that damp is historical. So I think that there could have been a leaking washing machine there on the other side of the wall at some point. Something like that could have been causing a problem. It could have been coming in just from the outside. It could be where the roof of the building comes down, the gutter's leaking, anything like that has made that wall damp. But it's definitely been damp at some point, obviously. And when she said it's been done, we need to know what's been done. But let's have a look. Right, she's a bit vague there. They did not what they needed to do. She obviously didn't follow it too closely, which is always a mistake. You need to get your quote. She needs to show us what was outlined there. Now, did they hack off all the plaster? Did they put on a membrane? Did they put some dry rods in the wall to stop any rising damp? Or did they simply just hack off the plaster and re-render it with some additive like Seeker 1 or something like that? But whatever they did, it's been effective to a certain extent, I would imagine. It's good that the radiator is there, isn't it? Right, so what we can see here is you can just see the vague outline of the salts, and the salts are pushing the paint off. It's not a vinyl paint, so it's a good thing. It will allow it to breathe slightly, but you can see as she goes into the close-up that this is a sign of salts, and it's pushing through what I would think is probably sand and cement render, and it's flaking that off. So really all that's going to come off. So whatever they did in the way of damp proofing down below, maybe they stopped at the magic 1 meter and this is pushing up beyond the 1 meter. Maybe this wall was damp all the way up here, in which case they should have hacked off the plaster all the way up and put on a membrane, painted on a membrane, and then replastered. And I would have suggested they replaster with a lime plaster or even a cork plaster. We're going to be doing stuff on cork plastering. I can't wait because I love the idea. Bit of cork plastering, bit of lime on the top of it, and it would have stopped those salts in their tracks, so she wouldn't have had this problem. As it is now, she's going to have to scrape all that paint off as best she can and try to give it a surface treatment to hold the salts back. But really speaking, if you wanted to do the job properly, you'd hack all that lot off again and begin. But as we don't know what was done, we just don't know whether it was sufficient. But it certainly hasn't stopped the salts coming through. They may eventually stop coming through now the damp isn't there anymore. So it could be that she just takes off the paint and leaves it for 6 months without any paint on it and just lets the salts come out the wall. So you can see at the bottom there's a bit of damp down there. It's got gravel around the edge of the paving slab, so there'll be water getting down there. into the wall. Quite likely that wall that's adjoining this one is causing some problems. Right, so now she's coming over to the other wall, and this is the adjoining wall with the neighbour. This is the old chimney breast. Again, what we're talking about there is salts. If I take that back a bit, you can see the hygroscopic salts that are in the wall. Now, these attract moisture. They will attract moisture not only from inside the chimney breast, but also from in the room. So if there's high humidity in the room, it's a kitchen after all, it's going to have steam in it. Those salts are just like a magnet. They're a sponge, you know, they will take any moisture they can get. So without getting rid of the salts, it's very difficult. You need to, again, take the plaster off, put a membrane up, and you might have a chance of getting rid of it. So this is an old chimney, and it may have had a fireplace there. It may have been for a cooking range or something like that. Depends what that room was used for. But let's suppose it was a fireplace. It's been covered up. It's got this bit of tiling over the front here. The only bit that's exposed is above the tiles. So that's where the damp's coming through. Now, she says that the chimney had no pot. It may be that it had no cap, that what it was is that it just had the pot taken on, it was open to the elements there. So water coming down there for what she says may have been years on end, and it's all collecting in that area behind there. It's likely that it's going to be damp, isn't it? Now, if it was done a little while ago, it was done during the hot weather, and the guy may have been optimistic and gone, oh, you know, 4 weeks time you'll start seeing this thing drying out. But that's a very optimistic view. I would have said to her 6 months, and that you might see some improvement, but you know, even 6 months is sometimes not enough to dry out an old building, especially an old chimney. So it could be that you're talking about a year. It's an old chimney. We haven't seen the outside of it. We don't know how it's attached to the neighbours. We don't know whether the neighbours' stack is in good nick. Have they got open flues? Because if they have, if there's rain coming down from the neighbours, it's never going to dry out on her side because it soaks through. It's only 4-inch brick between her and the neighbours, and it would be an old decayed brick anyway. So again, I want to know what's been done on that chimney. Has it been given a good treatment of something like storm dry, or has it just been a bit of superficial pointing and maybe a bit of flaunching over the top, or maybe he's just put a cap on? Without knowing all these details, it's very hard. And I would say, Elizabeth, that this is the kind of detail you need to get from the guy. Not that, oh, I'll go up there and fix your chimney, but you need to say, what are you going to do on my chimney? And then at least with that, you've got some redress, you've got something to show other people if it doesn't work. We don't want to repeat what's been done there. If it's a good job, that's great, but I'd like to get a drone up there and have a look. Anyway, Elizabeth, you tried your best there, and you gave us some details. We could have done with more. Maybe you'll send me some more and I can have a look at it. It's just general principles here that we need to know a little bit about what's been going on there, and there's a step up there as well. So maybe that's timber flooring in there. Maybe that needed some ventilation under it. Maybe it hasn't got any ventilation. You know, it's just really hard to know what's been going on. But it's all double glazed, this house, all sealed up, usual story. So if there's any moisture floating around, it's likely to condense on these cold surfaces. So it could be a variety of different things. And again, just get a little humidity sensor in there. Try to keep the humidity down. Try to make sure you always use the extractor fan, if indeed there is one. And it should be vented to the outside. Not one of those that just runs through a charcoal filter, because that won't remove the moisture. Personally, I would try and get away with just redecorating, rubbing that wall down with some kind of salt inhibitor. On the other one, just have a look at that chimney, see what's happening there. The guy said 4 weeks. You're going to have to give it some time, I think. Just be a bit patient. See what it's like in a few months. Okay, Elizabeth, I hope that helps. It's not entirely encouraging for you. It's not disastrous. It's just that you're probably expecting quite a lot there, really, in an old building. There's always a little bit of damp floating about somewhere. I'm Roger Bisbee. Come back and see us soon. You got any damp problems? Got any cracks in your building? Got anything else happening? The sky falling in? I don't know whether we can do anything about that, but, well, who knows.